Hey guys, ArkhIce here, and today I want to make an updated video about should you summon for Merlin, because there's been some recent changes in whether you should or you shouldn't with the recent Luduciel Margaret buff that they recently gave him/her, right? So yeah, I want to discuss that today. Yeah, but before we hop in this, if you enjoyed today's content, make sure to subscribe. And if you haven't yet, hit the notification bell if you will get notified when I upload. Now then, with Merlin coming later tonight / early tomorrow morning, depending on where you are in the world, just wanted to make an updated video because on the JP side of things, a lot has changed and we really need to discuss that. Merlin and Elizabeth and Hawk are coming, and of course it's 600 banner. Merlin has, of course, she has a flood card. Really strong flood card, hits as strong as Escanor. Obviously, Merlin has a an ult control card. That's Gother's card. She has a decreased HP related stats ultimate that's single target, but the HP related stats decrease is AoE, so it's an AoE effect but single target damage. Her passive is whenever she uses 2 skills on the allied turn, she disables the attack skills of the enemy, and when she uses 3 skills, she prevents ultimate gauge filling up for 2 turns, right? Of course, her stats are actually really good for what they are. For DPS, she has insane amounts of stats, not like the greatest, but not the worst either. She's above average stats, right? She's a really good DPS unit. She hits as hard as Escanor. She has the ability to control the field with some support and everything. She can, obviously, just like a big control such DPS unit. She has a bunch of control aspects, attack related skills, ultimate gauge and filling up, decreasing ultimate gauge. Then obviously there's the decreased HP related stats, and of course she also has the damage of Escanor with her flood, and her ultimate also hits pretty hard, right? And of course the effect is not locked behind 6 out of 6, unlike Margaret Luduciel. Only the 3 turns is locked behind 6 out of 6, which you don't really need, right? Because the only unit that you're going to use this against is Bond, and Bond after a turn or 2 will just clear that away. So it really, 3 turns does not matter, right? At all when it comes to Bond. Obviously, with Merlin and everything, Elizabeth and everything, she has a AoE decreases skill ranks, and on rank 3 it depletes ultimate gauge. She decreases attack related stats of all enemies. She has a single target charge. She has the same really bad substats / basic stats as the old Merlin, as the old Elizabeth and Hawk and everything. Really bad stats. Of course, where she shines is her passive, where every hero of the goddess race, you decrease damage taken from AoE by 10%. Then of course, every person of a known race, you decrease single target attack damage by 10% that you take. So I did this really quickly. Normally I take like 4 minutes to go over this, 4 or 5 minutes, but I did it really quickly just to do a recap, because I did this in my last video. It's a recap of what they do, right? And Merlin, she's gonna be really good. She's gonna be an insane unit. But, here's the but. She's kind of dead. If you didn't know somehow already, Margaret Luduciel received a big buff, right? She's the next Faz unit that's going to be coming out on Global. And she received a huge buff to her blue card. And she also received a pretty big buff to her 6 out of 6 ult, right? If you didn't know what she did, she has a charge AoE. Her blue card, beforehand, it was increased damage dealt to enemies by 30% and decreased damage taken from enemies by 20% for 2 turns. Of course, it increases by that, right? But what got added was the removed debuffs from all allies from rank 1, right? That's an insane effect add on rank 1, along with other stuff. It's probably the second or number 1 or even third best card. It could be any of the top 3 of best cards in the game. Her ultimate is a single target sever, except that at 6 out of 6, it has an AoE effect of blocking all skill effects, including those of ultimate moves. And that does in fact work on Bond. At least that's what, people told me, whoever 6 out of 6, it does work on Bond and everything, right? And of course, her Grace is different from the old Luduciel. When attacking using skills, for every stance or buff effect on the enemy, increases the heal's attack by 5%. And of course, her passive is that she increases the basic stats of goddess race allies by 8% every time an ally uses a stance or buff skill. Limit 5 times, right? So she's a really good unit. Her buff just makes her insane and actually makes her one of the best UNCs in the game. She's a really good unit. And because of her buff, she kills Merlin. She legitimately killed Merlin before she can come to global, right? When using Luduciel and versus Merlin, Merlin doesn't matter. Because Merlin does is she has a bunch of control. Like the HP related stats decrease, the ult gauge, decrease in a turn. The prevent ult gauge prevent ultimate move gauge from filling up, and then disable attack skills doesn't particularly matter in Margaret Luduciel's eyes. And Margaret Luduciel is the unit you see literally everywhere. She's used on every single team. There are even Bond teams that have her used on there. She's literally used on every single team that's out there. She is that good that she's just a staple. She's literally a staple in the meta on every single team. You use her with anyone else, they're good. Red Escanor, he's good. Like if you watch Speedy's latest video with Red Escanor actually does some work. He may not win every single match, but you're gonna win a lot of them, right? And the thing about Merlin is that she has all these effects which are red debuffs. Rank 1, Margaret Luduciel removes those red debuffs. Margaret Luduciel's buff killed Merlin. Merlin was actually being used in PvP before the Margaret Luduciel buff, and she could be used efficiently, right? Because she could be used as an Escanor. But she loses everything but the Flood. Literally, the Flood's the only thing she has anymore. Which, having only Flood is not worth it. Having only one card that's usable is not worth it. Especially when you could just use Escanor instead of her, and just have all the big damage and everything instead. And of course have that passive that stops debuffs from affecting you and everything. Increases your stats. So, yeah, Merlin is not usable in PvP anymore. That's just straight up it. She's not usable. She's not worth summoning for. Even if you like Merlin, I'm gonna say, I'll be honest. Before it was, yeah, you could put your gems in her. She's a pretty good unit. Now it's a whole, don't do it. It's not worth it. Save your gems for Margaret Luduciel. Margaret Luduciel is the unit you want to save your gems for. Obviously, if you're using the Bond team, you don't have to. But she is so good, bro. She's just honestly one of the top 3 best units in the game. I'm gonna be honest with you. Her damage output goes up to 1,000,000. Her buff card's really good. So her pass is really good. Ultimate's really good. It's just better to skip the Merlin and save Margaret Luduciel, right? And yes, you can make an argument, well, they're limited units, so you might want to get them, but it's not worth it. They'll come back in the future if you want them. You'll eventually pull them on a future summer banner or a future exclusive banner, right? You'll eventually pull them. It's just not worth getting right now because they literally have no use in the meta. It's just better to save your gens for future Faz units or future units that would help boost your Bond team, right? But yeah, that's today's video. I just wanted to make it updated should you summon, because it's very important that I do this before she actually comes out, and the people who referred to my last summon video go based off of that. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.